Finding Glitter in the Storm to Midsummer. So it's a dark comic, deeply moving coming-of-age story about growing up queer in Byron Bay, written and performed by Josh and directed by Lachlan Plain. This Midsummer premiere is funny, fierce, and it's full of heart. A love letter to misfits, late bloomers, and anyone who's ever had to find their way through the storm. So, Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me here.
So the title, Finding Glitter in the Storm, it's such a beautiful title. What does that mean to you personally, and when did you first realise that glitter could exist alongside the storm?
That we're born with a kind of sparkle and a curiosity to the world, and despite some hardships I had early on in my life, I kept finding my way back to hope, and that resilience didn't fade and didn't come from having an easy life. It came from learning how to survive a hard one.
Mm. And part of the show talks about the fact that you moved from Geelong to Byron Bay, and were references the town pirates. That how much of that pirate ship makes its way into the show?
Okay, yeah. So there's no moments.
You're not wearing a pirate,
you're not walking the plank. You're not requiring audience members.
You don't have a parrot.
No hooks and gold earrings. As much as I'd love them too, they could be fun. But look, it's a great metaphor. The pirates. My family did own a pirate ship. It's an iconic little weathered boat on the Brunswick Heads River just outside Byron Bay, and the boat itself is a really great metaphor for the dysfunction of owning that pirate ship, a business that wasn't completely viable, that led to all other kinds of hustles, and you can imagine what those kind of hustles might be up in Byron Bay. Yeah. My family was iconic. We were never really crowned the town pirates. It's a term I came to later in life, but we were definitely crowned legends. Just a little story, like I remember being quite young and Mum leaving business in the house for me to do, and people bringing over incense for us to butter. We'll swap a couple of things for a couple of these, and and I was quite young, and before I knew it, there was a squad of cops doing a raid at our house, my little sister was 3 at the time. She came out and she goes, "Mum, the pigs are here." So, it's really a lot of culture that I learnt growing up in that environment.
What did growing up there really feel like as a queer kid?
Yeah, like you've said, there's so many layers to Byron. People have different experiences. I really want to acknowledge here that it's Bundjalung Nation, that those First Nation people, it was their land first, and then there's always a transition of people that come and leave Byron Bay. It was a regional area where farmers' children's moved away and the hippies moved in and took over the banana shacks, and the Aquarius movement came there, and for that reason there's a huge diverse culture there. But being a queer kid growing up there and learning about diversity, but then feeling like an outsider because all of that queer community were people that were escaping the hardships of HIV, older people living on the outskirts of Byron that I didn't see, didn't understand. My subconscious homosexual identity emerging. I didn't see myself anywhere, and even as an adult moving back there, sometimes seeing the gentrification and the affluence that's happening there, and some of that hippie culture moving out, it's and that diversity still existing. It's still a contradiction of there being the diversity of queer people being represented. If you want to see the real Byron culture, come to the show. I can tell you about it.
It sounds like you had an interesting childhood, which means you would have had some ups and downs with it. Was humour something you developed early on as a coping mechanism, or did that come later in life?
would say the creativity came first. I was
Yeah.
creative. We had this incredible dress up box, and when your mum's the main town business entrepreneur of substances,
And was good at bartering. So obviously could get
Yeah.
you some good outfits.
we had we had all secondhand clothes shops, all different types of hustles going on, side businesses, and that was my creativity. And you don't get bullied when your mum's the main business person in town. I'm doing quotation marks there about business
it
person.
sounds like you're the child of the mafia.
Yeah. We were known. We were really known around town, and it took me to my late teenage years to find other people with that creative mind, with that absurdity, that cynicism that I've come to realise as an adult isn't negative. It's my absurd view of life. I can find the glitter in telling my story, with sitting in the vulnerability, and not having to put up that wall I'd used maybe in my early queer years to make fun of, be able to punch up rather than just feel like I'm punching to survive, you know.
And
Yeah.
being a neurodivergent artist with training ranging from WAAPA to Los Angeles, how has that mix of lived experience and formal training shaped your storytelling?
It's been a long journey, and I really don't feel like I came to being an actor until I just accepted that I was an artist, and I used education as a stepping stone. I moved out of home at 14, put myself through high school. I had one kind of dream to not just be a hustler, selling things down the side at anyone that would turn up to the house. And
Or the boat.
yeah, or the boat, yeah. And I thought I'd end up in a career. I wanted to be an actor. I didn't get the marks to get in. I did a co-major in theatre studies, and I saw all the people in my humanities degree that were that I'd done with those little electives in the go off and be creatives, and I didn't feel like I had that stepping stone, so I kept stepping forward. As an adult, I got into WAPA. I didn't fully get through. I was like Tony Collette and dropped out early, and then started making stories about dysfunctional families.
Yeah,
You
which
know.
is great comedy.
The
Yeah.
show's described as a love letter to misfits and late bloomers. So who do you hope sees themselves in this story when they're sitting in the audience?
Yeah, I probably felt like a late bloomer at 25. I felt like a late bloomer at 30. And where I'm at now, I hope though that that anyone that's ever felt like an outsider, that is neurodivergent, queer, comes from a regional town, people that want to have their art seen, that have felt 2 steps behind their whole life and are trying to catch back up, can come along and feel that inspiration there.
Yeah. There's this thing that I heard that as queer people growing up, we create this mask to fit society. And then as we grow older, it's taking that mask off and thinking, what is actually me and how does my face look in the queer community? So thank you for putting that show together. Like it's a really important message.
Where and when can people see this show?
Yeah, it's on at Club Voltaire. It's in North Melbourne. Beautiful 50-seat theatre.